Yeah, I mean, I definitely think that new batch of gun owners, what we saw over the last 2 years during the pandemic, is going to have a significant political impact, as you alluded to earlier. I mean, it's difficult to imagine that a lot of those people aren't going to change their voting habits down the line. Maybe not immediately, maybe not, tomorrow, but eventually, as you alluded to, they've seen, and we've seen, I've documented a couple of cases where people have gone from being that first time gun owner who was, very liberal and believed in a lot of gun control to actually becoming a gun rights activist in the case of Asian American Pacific Islander gun owners out in California. One of their leaders is a brand new gun owner and now is a gun rights activist. And I think there's probably a lot more people out there who are going to go down that path, and it'll have a significant impact on our politics.
Yeah, I think so. And that's not to say that the gun rights movement hasn't won everything, but on the major goals that they set out, they have won. You always need someone there to hold the line and make sure that we don't get setback, because clearly there is an opposition there that isn't going to rest on its laurels. Where you draw the line, though, and how the resources are allocated is a conversation that it's probably time for gun owners and gun rights activists to start having. Where do you deploy your resources? And I don't know that it's worth deploying your resources to say, hey, let's try to bring constitutional carry to California, because it's probably not going to happen. But where do we advance in Washington, particularly with judges? Because the left is going to try to continue to put judges on the Supreme Court who might roll back the Heller decision. So there's wise money spent there. But you've also now got so many states that have advanced constitutional carry. Maybe resources can be deployed more efficiently in other ways.
Right. That's interesting. And, I do think that you could look at some of these laws that have passed in deep red states as perhaps a symptom of what you're talking about. Some of the, for instance, there was the Texas silencer deregulation bill that attempts to sort of nullify federal law on a legal theory that's already been tested and failed in Kansas. And then you have some of these Second Amendment sanctuary states where, the most of the bills appear to be symbolic in not allowing state resources or state law enforcement to enforce unconstitutional federal gun laws, but there isn't as much of a guidance on exactly what constitutes an unconstitutional federal gun law. And then some of these states have even made it a criminal act to enforce federal gun laws if they view them as unconstitutional. It's created a lot of sort of controversy. And, you look at these laws and they're in places that have basically everything that gun rights activists already wanted, like warrantless carry or constitutional carry, and or any number of other, stand your ground laws, castle doctrine. And so you get to a certain point where it's like, what can these Republicans in these states do to try and show that they're, on the side of gun owners? And that's where you get into some of these more adventurous laws that are going out on more of a limb.
Adventurous, grifty laws.
Yeah. And so, but at the same time, obviously, you can look at a lot of deep blue states that go the other way, right? And still have laws that most people or many gun owners might view as unconstitutional, right? I mean, and that are being challenged in court right now. And so I guess you're talking about changing the focus, I guess, or the...
Yeah, and look, some of the focus needs to be on, I would establish now probably more law-oriented groups, kind of like a lot of Christians use the Alliance Defending Freedom or First Liberty. Where are the groups now that are going to go into the blue states and challenge the unconstitutional laws and get those scaled back? You're not going to have success in legislatures in some of those states, but you might certainly have some success suing in federal court now. So there's always the reprioritizing. You have, I think, probably nationwide, there are a few more states like Georgia and South Carolina, Indiana, Nebraska, as they're getting close to passing constitutional carry, work there. but then begin to reprioritize from a legislative strategy to a legal strategy of now let's start suing in states that have overly restrictive gun laws.
Okay. So you want to see groups like the NRA or the Firearms Policy Coalition or GOA or the Second Amendment Foundation change strategy from focusing on, and obviously these groups all have somewhat different strategies to what they do, but
right.
You'd rather see the movement as a whole move on from passing more laws in deep red states to challenging
when you get to
state laws.
When you get to passing symbolic laws so people can just say, "Raw, I care about the Second Amendment, but I'm not actually going to do anything." Yeah, you've kind of run off the runway there. Now go into the states where you can get wins in court. You've gotten all the wins in the legislature that matter. The rest of the stuff is feel-good pablum so you can fundraise. Stop fundraising off of people in these states when there are no more laws to pass to advance the Second Amendment. Now go into the states where you can sue the snot out of states and get courts to overturn their unconstitutional laws. And by the way, there are lots of great groups out there that do that. I just think you've got to have a level of discernment as to when your path has changed and sometimes when your path has wound down because you've been so successful. Some people do become the victim of their own success, and there's limited money out there. So how should it best be deployed without taking advantage of the people who helped you get your wins?